Record. Alrighty, cool. Hey everyone, Brent here from Brand Neurals and Neural Trader, and I'm just doing this quick little presentation just to help some of the guys in the MBA group, because I see there's a lot of people that we have this thing around positive mindset and thinking and changing beliefs and all that sort of stuff, and sometimes there can be a disconnect between what we know consciously and what we're actually feeling internally. And it's one thing to have affirmations and to have mantras and to say all this sort of stuff, but when there's a disconnect, it cannot work sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly show you guys how and why we all think differently, what makes us do what we do, and this will help anyone that's feeling stuck. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen. And then we've got, okay, play, mute. Alrighty, so you can see my screen? Good stuff. So, this has come from helping hundreds of people over the years release all sorts of negative emotions, which create limiting beliefs, which leads to all sorts of things like stress, depression, anxiety, procrastination. I've worked with people that have been in and out of psych wards up to 10 times. I've worked with people suicidal, people with intense phobias like fears of water, fear of heights, fear of flying, suicidal veterans. I've had clients from Spotify, Google, Amazon, lawyers, doctors, all sorts. These are just some of my clients. So this one, this is a girl from Perth. That was her suicide kit waiting at home if what we did didn't work. I'm not showing that just to show you how powerful this little thing, what's going on between areas is. Now, change has nothing to do with ability. It has everything to do with motivation. So sometimes when we know we want something consciously, but we just can't seem to make it work. Like for instance, like you can have all the best trading strategies in the world, you can know what to do, but then for whatever reason, when you go to enter a trade, you freeze or you get stuck. Like there's a lot of different factors that are contributing to that. Now, the hardest part about change though, is making different decisions than we did the day before. And by the time we're in our late 20s, early 30s, what we are is we're just a series of automatic rehearsed responses where we're operating on autopilot most of the time. Now, the thing is, and why I'm so passionate about this is I don't believe positive changes in mental health or mindset should take a long time, should cost a small fortune or be inaccessible just because you live remotely. I've got clients at the moment in New York, WA up in the Pilbara, Melbourne, Brisbane, so it doesn't matter where we are. As long as we've got an internet connection, we're good to go. But this is the reason, this is why we can all see similar sorts of things and we can respond completely different. Now, we've all gone through the MBA training. We've all learnt lots of the same sorts of things. But why is it that some people can go on and make a ton of money while some people can learn all the systems, know what to do all their homework, but still can't place a trade? And the reason for it is, this is one of the big reasons. And this is why two people that have an alcoholic father can go on and have completely different outcomes in their lives. So one could go on and be an alcoholic and the other could never touch alcohol for the rest of their lives. And the reason, and they'll both have the same excuse, and it's, my father was an alcoholic. So the events that happen in our lives, now this could be taking a big hit on a trade. This could be a relationship breaking down. This could be a car accident. This could be, domestic violence. It doesn't matter. The events that happen in our lives, they're not negative and they're not positive. The only thing that gives an experience any meaning is the emotion that we give it. So what happens when an event happens is it passes through a series of filters in our mind. Now these filters, they're based off time, space, our values, our experiences, our experiences, our beliefs, and our meta programs. Now, our meta programs are that voice inside our head. If you think of the body as like the computer, and the meta programs, or that voice that we have inside our head, is the software that runs it. So this all happens in an instant. Now, because we're humans, there's three things that we also do. We also generalize. So it's like if you've had a couple of bad relationships, you've had or you've lost a lot of money in a trade, it's easy to go, all men are bastards, or all women are crazy, or every time I put on a trade, it's gonna go against me. We also distort things. So it's like when people go fishing, they can say, I caught a fish and it was like this big, or I made a trade on made this much money, or I lost this much, I lost it all. You know, we distort things to fit our experience and to justify our beliefs. And we also delete things. So we delete bits of information. Oh, that's writing's not too neat, is it? We also delete things. So it's a little bit like if you have a partner, and it's like Mexican dinner night. You can have a shopping list, give it to your partner, and then on the way out the door, you go, don't forget the sour cream. Well, when they get back, they're proud as punch. They think they've done a good job. They didn't get the sour cream. You go, why didn't you get it? I actually get it. And he said, it wasn't on the list. But then it's not in that moment that they intentionally forgot. It's just that there was so much information going on. They just deleted that bit of information. So it's a little bit like when we learn all this stuff through MBA. You know, you can have all the systems, you can have all the procedures going through, like Binance and placing a trade. If you just delete that one little bit of information, you know, you can throw out your whole game. Now, when the data, or when the information from that event passes through all those filters and through all these generalizing distortions and deletions, it creates internally an IR, or a picture inside our head. Now, that IR, or that internal representation, is what generates our behavior. So this is why we can all go through similar sorts of experiences, but have completely different outcomes. Now, the reason we have all these filters is because there's so much information going on around us all the time. Now, at any one time, there's around 2.1 million bits of information out there. But if we're consciously taking in all that information all the time, we'll just be so overloaded. So through all those filters that I just explained before, we're only consciously aware of 260,000 bits, give or take. Now, the reason for that is our subconscious is always looking out for the bad things. It's always looking to protect us. So this is why we all have that negative self-talk, like if I put a trade on, I could blow it. Or what if I get another relationship and I get screwed over? What if they say no? What if I fail? What if I mess it up? What if I look silly? And so on and so on. And our subconscious is running all the time, trying to find all these things that are going on in the problem space. So this is why when traumatic things happen to us, like we blow an account, or we cut a finger off with a saw, whenever whenever a traumatic thing happens, our survival mechanism takes a snapshot of all the inputs. So it's what we're seeing, it's what we're feeling, it's what we're hearing, it's what we're tasting, it's what we're sensing. So it does that to keep the body safe. But while it's so busy focusing on all the things that can go wrong, we're missing out on all the things that can go right. How can I protect myself? What if the trade does go my way? How can I have better risk management? You know, so all the different things that we should be focusing on are getting filtered out just by the very nature of our survival mechanism. Now, Lego in no way endorses or is affiliated with what I'm about to share. This is just the easiest way I can explain so it makes sense. I'm sure you've all heard of, like, we've got a conscious and a subconscious mind. If you think of the conscious mind as the captain of a pirate ship and the subconscious mind as the crew, the captain or the conscious mind makes up about 5% of how we operate. The subconscious makes up 95%. So it's a little bit like the way you're taking this in now, you're taking it in consciously. The way you learn all this stuff through MBA, you learn all that stuff consciously. It's through repetition and by doing things over and over and over again that we become unconsciously competent. Now, when we have things like, well, let's just use Chen as an example from the training. So Chen made a heap of money really fast, but what happens is he lost it all, and now he's got this really bad story. Or this member of the crew, he's got a really bad story around money, because all he's focusing on now is all the problem space, not what Chen could have done better. So this is why it's one thing to have this belief that I'm a positive person, or I'm worthy, or I'm a good trader, or whatever it is. I am abundant. But if what we're thinking and what we're feeling internally because of what's going on with our subconscious, if there's a disconnect there, that's why there's a big incongruence. Okay, so this is why people on New Year's Eve, whenever they go to quit, say, okay, I'm going to quit smoking. Consciously, they know it's a really shitty habit. Consciously, it's not good for their health. Consciously, they know it's expensive. But subconsciously, they've been getting a lot of benefits out of having that problem. You know, it gives them something to do with their hands. It gives them a break from work. It gives them negative significance in a way. So this is why, if there's a belief that you want to have, but then there's an internal conflict or there's a mutiny, this is what's going on. But because we're so conditioned just to be thinking automatically, we very, very rarely think about what we think about. That's when we need to start thinking about the things that we actually are thinking about. Now, when you go and talk to a therapist, or when you go talk to a counselor or anything like that, it's kind of like, and this is my experience. So when I went through a couple of years ago, I was in a psych ward. I'm ex-military. I had lots of problems. And when I was going through that process and that model, they were talking about the traumatic events. They were talking about the things that happened when I was on deployment, and making me recall memories and everything that was happening in my conscious mind. All my problems, though, were in here with the crew and the way we were trained and the way we were programmed. Now, the whole process around CBT and cognitive behavioral therapy is working with this guy, trying to change it, trying to change the way he thinks, trying to change the way he perceives things. But this only makes up 5% of how we operate. Like, if there's ever a battle between the conscious and the subconscious mind, or if there's ever a mutiny, the crew is always going to win. Now, the way that we change things, the way that I fix things or help my clients fix themselves, is in between the two. We've got what's called the critical faculty, or the analytical mind. So the way we do that is we drop the brains back we drop the brainwaves back in the theta state, and we bring the conscious and the subconscious back into rapport. So rather than having that inner conflict of thinking things like, I want to be abundant, but I can't, with all this self-doubt, we're just bringing the conscious and the subconscious into rapport. Now, the responsibilities of your subconscious, and why this is so powerful, it's its job to preserve the body. So it's its job to keep the heart rate going. It's its job to keep breathing. It's its job to keep the blood circulating. It's the subconscious's job to remember how to drive, to remember how to stand up and walk when we go to the bathroom. So we're not actually standing up and going, okay, engage tummy, stand up and start to walk. We just do it all automatically. It doesn't process negatives. So this is like when you've got kids and you say, don't spill the milk. All the kids are hearing is spill the milk, spill the milk. It's like if I say, don't think of a pink elephant, think of a pink elephant. It responds to clear instructions. Now, the conscious and subconscious doesn't want to be in out of rapport or having a mutiny. They want to be coherent. But sometimes when the overwhelming voice of the negative self-talk is overriding what we clearly want consciously, that's where that disconnect comes from. It's the crew's job to avoid discomfort. So this is why some people can find it hard to start exercising, because they've got a lot of negative associations to exercise. It's much easier to sit on a couch and watch TV than go to the gym. But when you start to shift that story, that's when, and I used to be like that. When I got out of the military, I used to hate exercise because I associate a lot of pain and discomfort to exercise, because it was a good session if we were throwing up at the end of it. So for years I didn't exercise, but now my whole story around that has shifted. The crew of the subconscious learns in two ways. As I mentioned before, theta, which is dropping the brainwaves into a slower state, and repetition. So when I joined the army, I didn't know anything about guns. I didn't know anything about a whole heap of stuff. So the way they teach us to strip and assemble rifles or do drill is by doing repetition time and time and time again, and they're overhauling the psychology. This is why when we're learning trading, it's a good idea just to go through it and to build up the habits of making all your charts and clearing the charts from the start of the day and going through drawing your trend lines, drawing all your flags, bull flags, bear flags, all that sort of stuff. And Michael's really, really good at explaining that to build up good habits when it comes to your trading. The subconscious is where all the automatic thinking happens. And to the point of we don't often think about what we think about. And it has full control if it's untrained. And this is why I meditate every day. I start my day, I go to the beach and I sit there and just clear my mind and I set the frame for the day. Because, and this is what I love about MBA, because like the community aspect of MBA is the most powerful thing, because one of my coaches once taught me, he said, a weak person in a strong environment will outperform a strong person in a weak environment. And if you don't influence your environment, it will influence you. So this is why it's really, really important to think about what we're actually thinking about and not be a sucker or not be a slave to the automatic thoughts where like we're not good enough or we can't do it, or focusing so heavily on that problem space. And it's the domain of the good and the bad habits. And I don't believe in good or bad. I'll just say that. I think there's either because what works for me might not work for you, what works for you might not work for me. I think when we're honest with ourselves, we know what's functional for the lives that we want to have and what's dysfunctional. And this is why when we have these affirmations or we have these mantras or whatever it is, it's got to pass through a whole series of filters internally. But when it comes from us, and why this is important is because if we're thinking, because there's so much information out there this day and age, we only typically believe 30 to 40% of what we say, of what people say to us or what we've been told, because there's just so much disinformation out there. The thing is, we will believe 100% of what we tell ourselves. And this is why when someone says, just have a positive mindset or just think abundantly or have these affirmations that I am healthy, if you're not feeling it in your body, it's not going to sink in. And the exercise I'm going to take you through will show you how to hack the mindset of anyone on the planet. And I don't really do this outside of my paying clients, but this is going to be massive for those of you that want to say hack the mindset of Jason. Now, Jason won't even know that you're doing it, but I'll show you how powerful this is. I think that's it for here. Okay, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show this, right? Now this is really, really, really powerful. And this is what's going to allow you to hack the mindset of literally anyone. So this is specific for my trading clients. So, and this is why this is so much more powerful than affirmations. And it's really fitting that Jason put that post up today about having belief in yourself. So just for example, let's just put the trader that I admire, Jason. Pretty sure that's how you spell it. The reason I admire Jason is his patience, waiting for trades. Now, this is where the money is, because the way you may explain this to yourself will be different to me. And the reason this is so powerful is because this will be coming from you, as opposed to coming from someone else, as opposed to being told what you should or shouldn't do. Now, the way I would word this for myself will be something along the lines of, I only place trades that fit my plan accordingly. No, let's make that a little bit better. Actually no, because you want to elicit the feelings that gives Jason that attribute. So I enjoy waiting for trade opportunity fit my strategy. So that way I'm feeling good for waiting for the trades that fit my strategy. Does that make sense? Now, another reason why I might admire Jason, we'll go a little bit deeper here. And you can do this for anything to do with trading, health, relationships, finances, spirituality, or general. And I'll actually share this with you guys too, so you can all see. So another reason I admire Jason is his knowledge around trading. So the thought process that I would have that would give me the same attribute as Jason. Now Jason might not agree with this at all, but this is the way I would perceive Jason having this attribute. So I hope this is making sense. Knowledge around trading. I love learning more about trading each and every day. So what's this going to do? It's going to elicit and it's going to trigger that feeling. I love learning more about trading each and every day. Another way, I'm surrounded by a community that loves to see me succeed with them. Another program that I might want to upload is I never fail, I only learn. So what that does is it takes the emotional charge out of trades that might not go your way. So let's just do someone else. So let's just do Michael. And let's just put it in regards to the IBO side of things. So the reason I admire Michael is his ability to build his IBO business. So the program that I would have, or I would want to implant to have that attribute, would be I love Actually, no. Every day I'm excited to share the MBA opportunity with at least 5 new people. Now, I know that's actually quite similar to what he does. So that absolutely works. Now, another reason why I admire Michael might be diverse. His enthusiasm for trading. Actually, his enthusiasm for making money with trading. So the program that I would want to have so I can have the same enthusiasm for making money with trading that Michael Sloggett does is I love trading. I am a magnet for trade setups that fit my strategy and actually let's just my trading setups are everywhere and I am a magnet for money. Yeah, I love trading. My trading setups are everywhere and I'm a magnet for money. A magnet for profitable trades. Okay. So do you think if I've got these programs, I enjoy waiting for trade opportunities that fit my strategy. I love learning more about trading each and every day. I'm surrounded by a community that loves to see me succeed with them. I never fail. I only learn. Every day I'm excited to share the MBA opportunity with at least 5 new people. I love trading. My trading setups are everywhere and I'm a magnet for profitable trades. Now, rather than just saying that and not really feeling it, like, wouldn't it be much better just to have this as just an automatic program? So rather than having the programs of, I always miss opportunities or, nobody wants to learn how to trade, right? It's just such subtle little differences. But when it's something like, I've got to force myself to exercise, like, I've got to go to the gym, but I really don't want to. I've got to go to the gym, but I really don't want to. If you have the mindset of, oh my God, yes, I get to go to the gym again, right? And it's happening automatically, it makes life just so much better. Now, you can do this in anything to do in the area of health. So, person I admire, and it could be someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger. The reason why I admire him is his commitment to going to the gym. Now, the thought process I would have for Arnold, actually, let's just write this down. Arnold, I'm not even going to try and butcher his last name. Actually, no, I'll give it a go. Schwartz. And there you go. Reason I admire him, commitment to training. Now, the program that gives Arnie that attribute, I love going to the gym. It's my time away from the world and a declaration to my optimum, to the best version of me. Now, this might not make any sense to Arnold Schwarzenegger whatsoever, right? But for me to have Arnold, that attribute when it comes to Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, this is the way I would think. I love going to the gym. It's my time away from the world and a declaration to the best version of me. Now, if that's an automatic program, and that's just something that just is, it's going to make life so much easier. So rather than having someone else like try and impose affirmations or do anything like that, this just makes it such a, it just makes it easy. Now, I'll use my mum as an example. So my mum, she loves chocolate, loves it. Now, for me, it was hot and spicy KFC back in the day. Now, my mum used to tortures herself. So she has it sitting in the fridge, but she goes to the fridge and she sees the chocolate. She goes, I won't eat the chocolate. I won't eat the chocolate. I won't eat the chocolate. Even though the crew is going, man, we love chocolate. It's our comfort food. It's our break. It gives us sugar rush, sugar high, all that sort of stuff. But there's that massive inner conflict. So just let me ask you, what would be easier? If you go to the fridge and go, I won't eat the chocolate. I won't eat the chocolate. I won't eat the chocolate, even though your body's craving it. Or you go to the fridge and go, oh, chocolate, gross. What's an easier way to diet? So this is a very, very similar way to do that, just to start accessing those resources where rather than having those thoughts of feelings that I am a good trader, but really it's like, I don't know how to trade, and you've got all this doubt and frustration or fear around money. It just makes life so much easier. Now, I'll just finish on this. One of my clients, Tom, who recently passed away, sadly, he was a really good trader. He knew his stuff, and he could just, he had streaks where he was just on. But then he was getting really frustrated because he lost $12,000 in a single trade because he just deleted a simple step, but he lost 12 grand. So every time he went to place a trade, like consciously he knew what to do, but subconsciously his crew going, remember that time he lost 12 grand? Remember that time he lost 12 grand? Remember that time he lost 12 grand? So there was this massive disconnect. Now, when we did the session with Tom, he comes from a very wealthy family, but he was a guitar player and a chef and did all these other jobs type of thing, just more of a lifestyle type of guy. He couldn't work out why he was sabotaging his trading. Now, when we did the session, it came back to when he was 12 years old, his father died in a plane crash. So when his father died, his mum inherited all this money and he felt disconnected from his parents. So he saw his mum like with all these nice clothes and new cars and all that sort of stuff. And he was having a massive feeling of not feeling good enough and not feeling loved. So he couldn't work out why he was sabotaging his trading. So when we found out what the reason or what the trigger was, subconsciously his crew equated Tom to making more money to getting less love from his parents, and he didn't want that for his daughter. So every time he was self-sabotaging his trading because there was an inner conflict between Tom consciously knowing how to place trades and a greater desire of wanting to have love for his daughter. Right? It makes sense? And it's one of those things. Now, Tom was 58. So he had this whole story his whole life that if he made a lot of money, he would have less love from his parents, or he wouldn't be as loving for his partner or his daughter. So there was he could have all the most amazing strategies. He could know everything to do. He could have whatever it was, but there was always going to be that disconnect in between what he knew consciously and what his subconscious crew wanted. So that's why this stuff is so fascinating. And for me, like coming from the army, we get conditioned that we've got PTSD or we've got depression or we've got anxiety. What's actually happened is you got all the crew or the subconscious have been programmed and brainwashed to think like soldiers. And you've got all these soldiers with PTSD running around in the civilian world, but with military grade crew or subconscious, right? And when the crew or when that way of thinking doesn't work in the outside world, that's when suicide happens. That's when drugs and alcohol happens. That's when counseling and anger and all that sort of stuff happens. But because we're not consciously thinking about what we think about, that's when all that sort of bad stuff happens. So, Liz, I hope I'll just unmute you. Do you have any questions? Does all that make sense? I can't seem to unmute you. Just put a thing in the chat if you've got any questions, and hopefully all that made sense. I rushed through it. It usually takes me about 2 hours to go through that. But I just wanted to, do the best I could. So I think Liz is gone anyway. But anyway, this meeting is about to end. So I hope you guys got something out of this, and I'll remind me to add this link so you guys can go through and create your own recalibration process. And if you want a hand to actually install it deep in the subconscious level, then yeah, hit me up, ask me any questions, and yeah, I'm here to help you guys if I can. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.